Mark Few's my buddy, 22 years at Gonzaga. He's won 83% of his games. It's the highest among men's basketball coaches all-time NCAA, and he joins me now live from the bubble. They've got their own college bubble. So when you hear, you're a humble guy, when you hear people like me saying, Gonzaga or the field, I'll take Gonzaga, that must just make you sick to your stomach.
Especially coming from you, yes. Yes. I'd expect a slightly better from you, but I mean, I'd be remiss to not acknowledge, like I usually listen very loyally to you on the radio, and to see you, like the TV viewers do with this mustache. Oh my
boy.
Lord.
Changes everything.
You're like, I hate to age myself, but Errol Flynn or Clark Gable or something. That's a good look for you. I've never really thought mustaches are good these days. That's a good look for you.
Well, very
yeah, suave. Woo.
So
maybe up for the next Bond. Now that you're living down in Hollywood, we could use a new Bond.
So it's funny because you've always had good players, and that's never been the question. You go to California, you get a top 5 player. You go to Texas a couple years ago, you get international players. But this is different because now you have this great program, and you bring in a Jalen Suggs, and he's a great player. He's an NBA prospect. Were you worried at all that, wow, this is not really us? We got to make sure he's the right kind of guy that understands us.
Absolutely. And a really quick, funny story with that is, and I don't know if people will believe this, but it's true, is like they literally had to convince me to recruit him. That they had reached out and said, hey, we're really interested in you. And Jalen's really interested in you, and the family and the AAU coach. And I'm like, come on now, this guy's one of the best players in the country. And that's usually not the waters we fish in. And they're like, no, we've been watching you forever. We love how you guys play, and love your player development. And lo and behold, they kind of convinced me. And then obviously once you meet Jalen, once you meet the family and everybody around him, we knew, yeah, you know what, this is somebody that values everything that we value, and he's a great talent and a great player. But the two things that really set him apart, Colin, are he's really, really coachable and just yearns to get better, and even down to the deep details. I mean, he really likes to watch film and break down stuff with us all. And then he's a ferocious competitor. I mean, he's a football player. So, I know Joy will like that. And and I just tell you, having a football player, it makes for such an easier adaptation when you come into college ball, because it's so much more physical than high school. And I mean, from day one, he was ready for that from the jump. So he already kind of had an edge on everybody.
So you've won 25 of your 26 games by over 10 points. Your kids are smart. They know they're favored. How do you keep them loose? Because we don't doubt you're going to. Every time I saw you play this year, you got to 90 points. You're very good offensively. You're athletic. You got bigs. You got experience. You got shooters. But even all those things, teams get tight in that first couple games. Have you tried to loosen your team up in the last 2-3 weeks, knowing you're going to be a 15, 20-point favorite in this first couple games in the bubble?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we played kind of loose all year, and I don't know where there's really been an instance. And even one of the things that I think and hope is really going to serve us well is, BYU was putting it on us in the conference tournament final, a week or so ago. And yet I never sensed our guys got tight or anything. It was more just adjustment about us making plays and kind of amping it up to BYU's toughness and energy. And, yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. We're going to go in this tournament as aggressive as we can possibly be. We are not buying the hype of the Gonzaga or the field, because that just isn't kind of who we are. There's some really, really good teams out there and that I've seen a lot of and have been so impressed with. And especially in this tournament, this is not a NBA 7-game series or, Major League Baseball or anything. This is one, and you either move on or your season's over. So we have to be good on that particular day. In some instances, even great. And the only way we're going to do that is if we're aggressive and we're the hunter and not the hunted.
Mark Few, Gonzaga head coach. So the NBA had a bubble, and a weird thing happened. For the first time in my adult life, the young teams played very well in the bubble. And I talked to some NBA people, and they said, listen, the old guys are married, they have kids. They were depressed. They don't like the bubble. The young guys, it was like, I hoop and I play video games. I'm having the time of my life. You're in a bubble now. And yeah. I think to myself, okay, you tell me, you've been there for a few days. What are the adjustments emotionally, physically, this bubble provides that going to a regular tournament didn't?
I think that's a great question and a great call by you. And I find that's interesting. I never looked at the NBA one like this. Listen, we talked about it at length. Even up to, when we knew we were going to be in the tournament 2 to 3 weeks ago about, hey, this is not going to be, our normal daily routine. We're going to be subject to other guys' schedules when we practice, and we only get a certain amount of time to practice, and we only have a certain amount of time when we go down and shoot. But, strangely enough, we've kind of been dealing with all this stuff all year. We've pretty much been isolated on our own campus. And I truly believe that, and this is an advantage, I hope, for us. I mean, if you really, really like your teammates and you like your staff and you have great chemistry, then it's going to be a huge advantage in this thing because we're literally just around each other, 24 hours a day. It's just us. And so you just kind of deal with it. And I think we're getting kind of the rhythm of it now and getting used to it. We actually had a great afternoon yesterday. We were able to go outside and play on the AAA field. They played football and badminton and some things like that. And the guys had a blast, and so that helped break up the day. This thing gets ramped up tonight now, and once these games start rolling, it's just going to be, games, rest, preparation, games, rest, preparation. So the waiting is just about over.
Yeah. You've had a lot of, you're a humble guy, but you've had opportunities to go everywhere. When you took this thing over, I mean, by the way, it was a good program when you took it over, but you've made it more international. You got some support. You got a new arena. You got a little bit more money. The recruiting's ramped up, but you would be the first to admit it was a good program. You took it to another level, and you've never left. And it was funny. I was looking over your program a couple days ago, and I was looking at the pictures of all your kids, and it was not just smiling. I mean, they're just you have created a very joyful program, and it's Mark. You got international guys, you got NBA guys, you got local guys. Is when you're running a business now. When you're running a business, and the pressure, and there's international, and there's different sensibilities in basketball. You've made it. You keep it a happy place with a lot of expectations. What's the secret sauce on that?
Well, you know me. I mean, I get it's my, vision of a program, right? Like we're going to work really, really hard and, we're going to, challenge you kind of intellectually with, schemes and everything that we do. And we really like kind of experimenting and we play differently every year. This team is vastly different than, a lot of my other teams. And we're very much into player development. But then you know what? When that's done, let's go have some fun. And, it doesn't have to be a job. And I think I hope our players, that's my vision for them, play with that kind of joy. But also outside of basketball, where, maybe the other people don't get to see them like I do. We have fun and we have, great relationships. And I try to treat them like adults. And I really trust them. We don't really have any rules, and they understand that. We have some things that I, talk to them about character-wise and how I want them to represent themselves in our program and our community, and that's about it. And they're unbelievable with how they do that, and we do have fun. I mean, I have a blast. We've had a blast this year. I couldn't have picked a better group, Colin, to go through all this. COVID protocols and separation and isolation and all this. I mean, they've literally just been a blast to hang out with. And at this point, you just don't want it to end. You just don't want it to end.
Yeah. No rules. I like that. You'd have to, if I would have played for you with this mustache, but if I'd have played for you, I'm not very coachable. You would have needed a lot of rules for me, Coach. I'll tell you right now. I was just an NCAA infraction waiting to happen. I'd have been nothing but a handful. But maybe that's why we get along.
Our culture, I feel like our culture would have embraced your individualism, but kind of kept you under wraps.
Well, you could see it that way, certainly from your perspective. Mark Few, Gonzaga, great seeing you. We'll see you soon. Have a beer and appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah, all right, buddy. Take care.
Take care.